Reddit, I just got stood up by my date for tonight. Comfort me with your tales of rejection and or dating humiliation. I had gotten back together with my high school sweetheart. We were living in separate cities, but seeing each other often. Around Christmas he proposed to me, and I excitedly agreed. On New Year's he suggested we meet in San Francisco. That afternoon, New Year's Day 1990, we were sitting in a Korean restaurant, and after eating he excused himself to go to the bathroom and never came back. I sat in my seat for nearly 20 minutes before asking the hostess about him. She told me he paid the check and left a while ago. We never married, obviously, and we didn't even speak again for years. He did eventually offer up some lame excuse, but it left a mark on my confidence for years. At least he paid the check. I know a guy who had been dating his girlfriend for about 4 years and decided he was ready to commit. But when he popped the question, he wanted the whole shebang. He reserved a table at a restaurant that had a live band, and he made plans with the manager of the place such that he would excuse himself at the end of dinner, go up on stage, grab the mic, and propose in front of everybody. He even shelled out for a cameraman to record the whole thing. So he took his girl out to this restaurant on their 4-year anniversary. Everything perfectly prepared. It was going to be awesome. Except when he asked, he didn't get an answer. He just started this nervous giggle, and after a few minutes of it, she asked him to get down so that they could go outside and talk. I've seen the video. It was pretty bad. The best, or worst, reason someone has given me after not showing you. Oh, sorry for not arriving, but on my way there I ran into another friend and decided I'd rather go out with him. Not exactly a date. I had this friend, one whom I used to be quite close with. I'm a guy. Friend is a girl. We were supposed to meet up for dinner at a fairly nice place. I just came from work, so I was dressed in a suit. Sit down. Wait a while. Waitress asks me if I'm waiting for somebody. I smile and nod. I text friend. Confirmed the date the day before and ask her if she was still coming. No answer. Waitress comes back a few times, with a slightly sadder face every time. I try to call the friend a few more times. No answer. Waitress felt sorry for me, gave me a few extra bottles of beer on the house, and I had a very fancy meal on my own. Have not spoken to that friend again. I was dating a guy for a couple of months and went away for the weekend together. During a random conversation he spilled the beans that he couldn't possibly love me because I didn't exist and ignored me the rest of the trip. It was my birthday. I was just so WTF that I didn't even know how to respond. When we go back to town I left and never saw him again. Picked a girl up for a date. She got in the car. First thing out of her mouth, you know, I've read that you can tell if a relationship is going to go anywhere within the first 60 seconds of your first date. Enthusiastic me. Cool. So how am I doing so far? Silence. The date sucked. I had someone stand me up after I was already at the roller derby venue. My date couldn't find parking, had a panic attack, and left. Then deleted their online dating profile and never spoke to me again. Felt bad. A guy told me to meet him at the movie theater for a date. Showed up at the time we decided on, but he was an hour late, so we ended up missing the movie I wanted to see. Had to wait another hour to catch a good film, and it just so turned out he forgot his wallet. I paid for our tickets. I usually pay for just my own, as well as his drink, and enjoyed the movie. When it was over, I bid him farewell, but he told me he didn't have a ride home. I offered to drive him to the other side of town to his mother's house. Turns out he was 8 years older than me. I was 19 and met him in a junior college class. Thought we were around the same age. His license was taken away because of recurring DUIs, and that he thought Star Trek was for fags. I dropped him off and he apologized for making me be the woman gentleman. Closed my car door. Drove back home. And that was the end of that. The date sucked. But at least someone thinks I'm a gentleman. I posted this a while back but it got buried. I moved to a new office a few years back and within a month I was messing with a coworker. We went out a bunch. Got drunk and made out but never had sex or were officially BFGF. One weekend she asked me to come to Reno for her birthday with a couple of friends. One of her long lost guy friends met up with her while we were there and she ignored me for basically the whole trip. The last night we were there she was ignoring me at a club. So I decided to branch out and met another woman. We had an amazing night. Talking, drinking and near the end of the night making out pretty heavily. We had driven to Reno from Idaho, about 9 hours. Most awkward drive ever. With a combo of her bitching silent the whole way. We worked together for another year before she actually moved away. I started a long distance relationship with the club and chick and she is now my wife of 2 years and mother of our daughter. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've only ever been stood up. So you're not alone. I was dating, whatever, to this girl while I was in high school. One night, on the phone, she tells me she feels bad because she lied to me about something. I asked her what, and she says that when she told me she had only ever messed around with 2 guys before, that she was lying. It was actually 10 guys and 2 girls. Now, I am a pretty laid back dude, so I didn't care. But she was really upset and kept saying I bet you think I'm a WH Ray and stuff like that. So, in a stupid attempt to make her feel better, I thought I would open up some of my secrets to her. So I tell her I am bisexual. And then she goes, oh, I don't really think that is attractive. Like, at all. And then we broke up, stopped talking. Whatever. And that was that. Took me a few years to be able to come out to anyone again. TL. Dr. Girl confesses the amount of guys and girls she has slept with. I tell her I am bi. And I get dumped because she thinks it is gross. Ex-boyfriend proposed to me over the phone. And I initially nervously giggled, which he took as a yes, and he started to plan everything. I was 18. Give me a break. Close bracket. I finally got up the courage to say that really wasn't what I wanted for my life. And I was sorry, but we are done. And I even said that I hope he finds what he wants. It's just not me. He told me he had $800 saved for a ring and told his parents. Why would you spring that on someone like that? He then proceeded to tell my rather conservative parents all about things I do on weekends, such as partying and having sex, etc. Needless to say, my life got very interesting after that. He continued to text friends for months afterwards asking where I was. I was not a happy camper. Edit. He planned everything. Not me. I just went WTF happened and did I just agree to something? Funny that you mentioned this, because I was stood up just 2 nights ago. A friend of a friend asked me if I wanted to catch a movie and dinner after my soccer game. We had gone out a few times in the past, but not for about 7 months. So this was out of the blue. I don't have much of a social life, so I saw this as a pleasant change. Unfortunately, I don't live in the city, so it was an hour's drive to get to the cinema. At which point I discover a recent text on my phone. Really sorry, but I have to take care of an emergency. I spent the next hour drive back home wondering if I should feel sorry for myself. I even wore my nice pants. Was talking to someone and going on a date since. Hell, why not? He's in another city, so talked about our schedules, distance, what to do, etc. Not even a week or 2 about talking about it, he starts acting really weird with hormones and shit. After a few days of this, really didn't like where the communication was going and politely declined and said I'd rather not pursue anything with him. He started getting pissed, saying that I was leading him on, etc. He comes out with, yeah, well, what would you do if I picked you up and took you away for a weekend? Hey. I questioned if he was drunk or stupid. And he went completely silent before asking half an hour later. So if you said yes before and I have sex with you, it's still okay, right? Tried to explain I paid to him and consent, but he kept asking. Ended up blocking him a few nights ago. So many stories in this thread are turning out to be dodge a bullet situations. In your case, it might be dodge a rapist. Work with a really cute girl. Always flirting with her. Ask her out for drinks. Meet her at a pool hall. Play a few rounds. She doesn't drink. Let her win. Okay. So she kicked my ass legitimately. Off to a bar. Sit down for food. Later at night. Hookah bar. Coffee. 1 AM. Back to bar. I've paid for everything. She asks how I want this night to end. I say a kiss and a promise for another date. She informs me that she didn't think we were on a date. Never saw her again. You didn't look that good in your sundress anyway, Elise. FCKU. So I was in 7th grade and I had a crush with this girl. Back then I was this socially awkward kid who never asked out anybody. I usually would just stare at her like any other crush. But this time was different. I was pressured to the max by my friends. But I took the PSSY insults. It took a turn for the worse when I was dragged to her locker by my friends. I knew there was no way out. I had to ask her out. Hey Ariel. I know this is a suicide attempt. But will you go to the dance with me? Sorry Fozziebot 5. I won't, I'll leave in shame. Fast forward to the dance. I see my very own friend making out with her. TL. DR. Socially awkward boy forced to ask out crush. Gets rejected. Sees her later on making out with friend. Here's what I think happened. The friend that you saw with her at the dance was the same friend that dragged you to ask her out. So he could talk with her once she rejected you. The first and last time I ever asked a guy out. He smiled gently and said, "Sorry. I have to clean out the garage all weekend." And this was in the office where we both worked. So many delightful weeks of humiliation followed. The first time I ever asked a guy out he said I like you. But we never hang out. So I dunno. I do not think he understood that I was asking him to hang out. And make out. Whatever. More tragic than anything. Met cool chick online. Went on. Perhaps. Best first date ever. She made some very forward comments about my awesome kissing and the desirability of a sleepover later in the week. And then. Nothing. I played it cool. Whatever I says. 2 weeks and nothing. I'm drunk and text that I can't take a hint. A week or so later. A text wakes me up at like 3 AM. Sorry, she says. The day after we went out she got some bad news. The brain tumor she thought was in remission was back. And spread to her brainstem. She apologized for being insensitive and said she just needed to be with her family. Sounds like a monumental blow off, I know. But it totally made sense given a couple of over-casual comments she made about a serious illness a couple years before and the fact that she was clearly not a complete psychopath. At the time I knew someone else with that exact problem. It is a death sentence. Megan must be dead now. And 2 years later I can't bring myself to delete the email exchange. Last year. I fell head over heels for a girl. In my mind. I didn't really know though. I was 16. And I was on a school trip to Italy. Whilst in Florence I had the nerve to buy her a gallant Easter egg. It was around Easter and she wasn't on the trip. That cost a fair amount. I proceeded to give her it. To which she was thankful. But a couple of weeks later she said she had no interest. And I was devastated. Being a dramatic teenager, I didn't know better. She then proceeded to further encourage everyone's general opinion of me as a creep. And I started becoming a reject. It was clear that I was far from being considered her type. Fast forward a couple of months. And she's drunkenly eating the face off of most lads I know. Also today. That aforementioned rejection has evolved so that I have been abandoned by my friends for the most part. I am currently not a happy panda at all. She's drunkenly eating the face off of most lads I know. Bath salts will do that to you. In high school I took this girl on a date to a fancy restaurant. I knew it was going to go wrong the second she started acting like a bitch about how much money I had and that her last boyfriend was way better than me. So I told her it wasn't going to work out. Paid the check and was about to leave when she asked me for $50 so she can call a taxi. I was like FCKU. The next day at school she said I left her alone at a bad part of town and that I was the cheapest person she had met and that I took her to McDonald's for the date. WTF. I had a girl walk out mid-blowjob. But I got the job done. My ex-girlfriend was a WH-re. She told me to stop halfway through sex. Because she remembered she had a boyfriend. She did in fact have a boyfriend. Whom she was reluctant to talk about. Any guy who can't wait 5 or 6 dates to get laid isn't worth your time. Anyway. No need to be judgmental. People want different things in life. And it's best that they both find what they want.